Hello and welcome to the first of the Times Aerospace TV Newsround programmes, which will be brought to you every 2 weeks thanks to the support of the World Defence Show, the global event that takes place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in March 2022. Well, we plan to bring you the stories behind the news and introduce the people that are driving the aerospace and defence industry across Africa, the Middle East and South Asia, and of course across all business sectors. This week we'll be hearing about a boost for Bahrain with its airport upgrade. We'll hear from the company behind the consortium that will bring world-class MRO to Nigeria, and we'll go behind the scenes of what is probably the most dynamic aviation training facility in the world. But first, let's head across the studio to Marcelle Nethersole and the news headlines.
The UAE is waiting anxiously to see if its order for 50 Lockheed Martin F-35 stealth fighters, along with Reaper missiles, will survive a review by the new US President Joe Biden's administration. The contract, worth around $23 billion, had been signed by the outgoing President Donald Trump on his last day in office. The Gulf states' bid had been supported by Israel following the signing of the Abraham Accord. But just days after taking office, President Biden called the contract back for review. Embraer delivered its first E-2 regional jets into Africa last week, when Nigerian airline Air Peace received the first of 13 E195 Profit Hunters. The manufacturer is clicking up the orders, as it also announced a firm order from Congo Airways for 2 E195 E2 jets. Air Peace has also announced signs of recovery, as it is due today to begin flights to Sharjah in the UAE. Ghana has seen the successful separation of its air navigation services from the Ghanaian Civil Aviation Authority in line with ICAO recommendations. A new headquarters building for the Air Navigation Agency has been completed at Accra's Qatar International Airport. Dubai's experience as a transport hub has seen the Emirate launch a vaccine logistics alliance to support the World Health Organization's COVAX initiative and will distribute 2 billion doses of COVID-19 to developing countries. The alliance combines the expertise and global reach of Emirates Airline with DP World's global network of ports and logistics operations, along with the infrastructure of Dubai airports and international humanitarian city in order to distribute the vaccines worldwide. India's Indigo Airlines has announced third-quarter losses of $85 million, with CEO Ronojoy Dutta calling on the government to lift existing domestic capacity restrictions of 80% of part of its COVID-19 restrictions. It was as low as 25% at one point in 2020. Dutta said that Indigo is trying to boost economic growth and build recovery and has announced 7 new destinations to begin operations before May. Elsewhere in India, defence manufacturer Hindustan Aeronautics is celebrating a breakthrough order of 83 Tejas Mark I A-Light combat aircraft to the Indian Air Force. The order covers 73 single-seat Tejas Mark 1As and 10 two-seater trainers and is worth $6.4 billion. But it is another military aircraft that has been wooing the crowds in India. A United States B-1B Lancer heavy bomber was scheduled to perform a flyby during the Aero India Air Show at Yelahanka Air Force Station, Bengaluru. The show, which opened on Tuesday and ends today, was promised the Lancer from the 28th Bomb Wing, based out of Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. South Africa's Semair has been given a business boost following an interline agreement with Africa's largest airline, Ethiopian. The single ticket from Semair's regional airports to connect Ethiopian's worldwide network will help fill a void left by South African Airways. And finally, Qatar Airways has taken a giant step to support global sustainability this week with a commitment to fly wild animals back to where they belong, free of charge. The airline has released a series of striking advertisements and a special video to go alongside the announcement to raise awareness of wildlife issues to its customers and air cargo stakeholders. As a founding member of the United for Wildlife Transport Task Force, Qatar has a zero-tolerance policy towards illegal trade of endangered wildlife. And well done to them. Alan.
Well, we'll be back with Marcella for an update later in the show. Well, we're going to head now to Bahrain to hear from our airports editor Chloe Greenbank, who's been watching the progress being made at Maharek at the Bahrain International Airport, and where there has been a major milestone this past week. Here she is with her report. Hi, Chloe.
Hi, Alan. Yes, so last week saw a big step forward for Bahrain's aviation sector. On Thursday, the 28th of January, Bahrain International Airport opened its new passenger terminal. Integral to Bahrain's Economic Vision 2030 and marking a milestone in one of the Middle East's most ambitious aviation projects in recent years, this new terminal is the centrepiece of a $1.1 billion airport modernisation programme. The state-of-the-art facility has been designed to cater for up to 14 million passengers, and at 210,000 square metres is 4 times the size of the old facility, which handled around 9 million passengers in 2019. With approximately 10,000 square metres of core retail space, the new terminal will also deliver a more personalised Bahraini feel, with local retail food and beverage concessions found alongside big international brands. And with the industry looking to build back better, sustainability has played a key role in this new terminal. It is the largest green facility in Bahrain and has already earned gold certification from the Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design programme. Commenting on the opening of the new terminal, Bahrain Airport Company's chief executive, Mohammed Yusuf Al Bin Fallah, told reporters, "It marks the start of an exciting new chapter in the kingdom's rich aviation history." Last Thursday, local flag carrier Gulf Air operated the first commercial flights in and out of the new terminal. The airline has also unveiled its new Falcon Gold Lounge for business class travellers that is double the size of its predecessor. And while some might question opening a sparkling new terminal amid a global pandemic that has seen passenger traffic drop off a cliff, Bahrain's new facility is a real reminder that this pandemic will pass and aviation will once again soar. And when it does, this new facility will ensure that Bahrain will be ready to compete on a level playing field with its neighbouring states.
Thank you, Chloe. Well, it's been great to see that development finally happening for Bahrain, and it should give Gulf Air the boost it needs to regain some of the splendour of its past as the pioneer of luxury aviation for the Gulf states. Well, let's take a look now at Africa. There certainly seems to have been a great resurgence for the aviation industry in Nigeria. As we heard in the news, airlines like Air Peace and of course Green Africa as well are stepping up a gear, and there's a host of startups putting their plans together for funding. But as always, the big question is, what about infrastructure and support? Now, the biggest of these challenges is probably MRO, maintenance, repair and overhaul. Africa has had a wretched shortage of independent MRO facilities across the continent, and with a lot of promise of new fleets plus a return to service of the many aged and parked aircraft because of COVID, then no wonder countries like Nigeria can see opportunities. Our MRO editor, Chuck Grieve, explains.
Thanks, Alan. As we've been reading, the government of Nigeria has ambitious plans to revitalise its aviation sector. They're going the public-private partnership route. Two key elements are an aviation leasing company and an MRO centre at Abuja International Airport. Details of both are currently in negotiation with the Aviation Ministry's preferred bidders, consortiums led by AJW Group. I caught up with Jan Malin, who is the Chief Financial Officer at AJW. Jan, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, AJW is well known in Africa. The group has strong links on the continent, and of course it has expertise worldwide in both leasing and MRO. It seems a bit of a departure from business as usual. What's the thinking behind this?
This is a project that we've been working on now for over 2 years as part of a competitive tender process that the Nigerian government put out, and that has had to evolve accordingly as a result of the pandemic from the last 12 months or so. And the opportunity, there's two separate opportunities. One is the leasing company and one is the MRO. The MRO is an opportunity to develop an aviation center of excellence in West Africa and in Nigeria. And in doing so, the objective is to address the demand for MRO services in West Africa, because currently that is underserved. Another one is to bring currency to Nigeria, to address capital flight leaving Nigeria, to make sure that safety standards can be improved and adhered to, attract foreign investment and things like that. Now, AGW doesn't have a heavy maintenance background and doesn't have a line maintenance background. And of course, we don't have a local presence in Nigeria, although we have been active in that market for many years. And so the reason for putting together a consortium, to answer your question, is to put together people who have those skills so we can deliver a winning RFP response, which, as per the announcement that you picked up on, we were successful in doing last week or so. The leasing company is a separate project designed to bring the required aircraft to the region and to give lessors comfort that when bringing aircraft to this region, there are going to be people who can monitor them, deploy them, repossess them, and of course, recover the investment required.
So it's a two-pronged approach to upgrading Nigerian aviation. HAW will be leading the consortiums. What will your partners' input be?
So there is no partner for the leasing business. We're doing this other than our local partner. So there is no third-party aviation expert other than ourselves, and we're comfortable doing this because of the background that we have in leasing assets of various types. We are going to fund that project ourselves as well. So there's no third-party investment required. And then when you move to the MRO, we put forward the tender response with Egypt Air Maintenance, and whether it's Egypt Air or someone else like Egypt Air, ultimately that comes into this opportunity, we need somebody who brings the heavy maintenance and the line maintenance expertise to the project. We will act as overall project coordinator, and we will be looking for third-party financing for this project because of the construction required and the training required to ramp up from a greenfield, a heavy maintenance activity in either Abuja or Lagos.
What about timescales, Jan? What happens next, and when would we expect to see any results?
It's likely that the leasing company will proceed faster because it's fewer participants. It's a clearer, more contractual business versus an MRO that has all sorts of things like site planning, training, and a lot of other resources that have to be pulled together to pull that off. But we're hoping to have the agreements finalized before the summertime, and there are face-to-face meetings planned. And the objective is to break ground on the MRO in 2022, probably towards the middle to the end of that, and with the leasing company as soon as possible.
Oh, that's a very exciting project. We look forward to hearing more about it. Jan, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Malin, back to you.
Thanks, Chuck. Well, there'd been a lot of talk since the announcement that HAW will be partnering with the experienced Egypt Air Maintenance and Engineering. But we understand from Cairo that the MRO provider will now not be involved going forward. It is important that HAW gets the right partner with the right experience if they are to instill the confidence of African carriers, as well as just all the new Nigerian airlines, to use these facilities closer to home. Well, it is an ambitious plan. Now, when it comes to ambitions, there could be few more daring than Mark Kammer. He's built a new aviation training centre in the sands of Dubai, but this is no ordinary training centre. Our GCC editor, Jill Stockbridge, discovers.
At the Dubai Air Show in November 2019, a select few were given an exciting glimpse of the state-of-the-art and experiential training facility Dynamic Advanced Training was building here in the aviation hub Dubai South. Unfortunately, by its official opening in June 2020, the world was a different place, and the aviation industry was particularly hard hit. However, Dynamic has managed to adapt and survive, and in some ways thrive, as Mark Kammer, Director of Operations, explains to Times Aerospace TV.
We are a one-stop shop, which means we can cater to all safety and emergency procedure training needs. With a real firefighting simulator, for example, we can do ditch training. We have survival rooms, a hypoxia simulator. It's an extremely comprehensive setup. Unfortunately, due to the grounding of the commercial airline fleet, we didn't have any customers to speak to, but our saving grace was our business jet safety and emergency procedure training offerings.
With a business jet cabin trainer rarely seen outside the USA, Dynamic offers door exit training for Gulfstream and Bombardier models, and will soon be adding Embraer Legacy. But it's more than simply cabin training.
Indeed. So we've just finalized a course for VIP service training. In our facility, we have a similar to an FBO stockroom, which we call the Business Jet Boutique, where cabin crew are able to go through the business aviation and commercial aviation are the same laws of physics apply, but they're complete different beasts. So in business aviation, if you're transferring from commercial aviation, you have to learn the fact that you are responsible for everything. You have to organize the catering, you have to organize possible food. There are client preference lists, there are menus that you have to create, you have to dress the aircraft, you have to obviously do the service itself to a discerning clientele.
The facility is incredible, with different experience rooms which range from a crash site in a steamy jungle through to a more Arctic setting, where cabin crew learn survival skills and strategies in hostile environments.
I jokingly like to say we're super weaponized learning center. We can offer to the non-aviation community, beyond aviation, classic markers of CRM, which are leadership, decision-making, communication, etc., etc. We do it in an aviation-themed environment, which is challenging, but we make it fun, so that the individuals actually come away from a course like this with new knowledge, which they can implement in their environment.
We can control everything from the iPad here. Night, day, we can pop the haze on. They will have to escape from the simulator. There will be a lot of communication, and they'll have to ration things around, delegate things, find sources of water, which we actually have in here. They'd have to put up a fire, get the search and rescue. So this is where you could put your team in here and see how they react. The chain of command might change. We can make it pitch dark. People might freak out. The ones that you wouldn't expect to step up would actually step up and lead the group.
It's different skills when it comes to the polar opposite.
But in the core, it's still the survival training of finding shelter, water, food, and then being rescued.
But the cabin training will be key for Mark Kammer and his team. Offering training for virtually all Airbus and most modern Boeing types, the effect is incredibly lifelike. Severe turbulence and ditching procedures can be practiced in what feels like a real situation. Oh yes, and when it comes to evacuating the aircraft in water, Dynamics Realistic Pool can offer choppy high waves, gale force winds, darkness and thunder and lightning.
We're in talks with various clients at the moment and hope to finalize a couple more contracts shortly. Legacy operators would typically only have training equipment related to their fleet. As an independent operator, we have a much wider range. We want to diversify our offering even further, and we want to be able to offer ground service training to, let's say, airport personnel. This will take some time.
And when the facility is not being used for aviation training, Mark Kammer is expecting locally based film and TV crews to take advantage of the natural film set. This is Jill Stockbridge for TATV in Dubai.
Well, having been there, I can tell you it is a really amazing place, and it really does fool your senses. Well, as an old cynic, there is little that impresses me as much as that centre did, and I would urge airlines to take a look. So Ella, we've looked back at what's been happening, but what have we got coming up?
Well, of course, all eyes will be on space over the next week, as the UAE's Hope mission to Mars should finally reach its destination and begin orbiting the Red Planet. This, the first Arab interplanetary mission, should see the probe enter the Mars orbit on Tuesday morning, February 9th. Dubai's ruler and Prime Minister of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, visited the UAE's Space Centre as the countdown to the orbit began. But Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid warned there still is only a 50% chance of the Hope probe successfully entering the orbit. It was launched in Japan in July last year and has travelled 493 million kilometres. China and the US are also leading exploration missions, set to reach the Red Planet this month. And of course, another important date is February the 21st, when the major defence show IDEX opens its doors in Abu Dhabi, the first major defence and aerospace show in the Middle East for almost a year. The organisers from the UAE's Armed Forces and the Ministry of Defence have been working flat out to make sure that the Abu Dhabi National Exhibition and Convention Centre has all COVID protocols in place. Delegates and exhibitors are expected from all over the world. So that's all from me. Alan.
Oh, well, we'll be back in 2 weeks with your next news round, but don't forget to go to our websites, arabianaerospace.aero and africanaerospace.aero, to catch up on our special programmes. The Defence Monthly video show sees our specialists give their thoughts on things like the F-35, the Qatar's amazing fighter jet growth, India's new indigenous fighter, and of course, plans for IDEX. There is also one of our Special Insight programmes where we talk to the UK Government's Director of Defence and Security Exports about why IDEX is important and how the newly focused Britain will be working hard to collaborate and cooperate with their old friends in the region. So that's it for us. Until the next time, goodbye.